Welcome to Real Flix Reviews. We're like a book club for people hate reading. This month's leader pick is X-Men Days of Future Past, and we bring you movie news at the end of the program. This week we have Jonathan Cherney, Ryan Preston, and James Stevens. Meow. Who was the description of this show?
Of the show? I thought you just did the description of the show.
Okay, the movie.
Oh, okay.
Let's do that one.
I have that. Okay. The X-Men send Wolverine to the past in a desperate effort to change history and prevent an event that results in doom for both humans and mutants.
I didn't know, was it Kitty Pryde who did that? I didn't know she had that power.
Wait, what are you talking about?
The X-lady, the X-Men lady who sent his mind back.
That wasn't Kitty Pryde.
Who was it?
Yeah, it was.
Oh, wasn't that was another chick?
No, I thought it was Kitty Pryde.
Yeah, that was Kitty Pryde.
No.
Yeah.
It absolutely was.
Really?
Yeah. Been the same chick in like 3 movies. At least 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I didn't know how she had the power, and apparently originally in the comic book it was her that went back in time. But I love the justification for it, saying, you know, you're the only person who'd be able to survive.
I thought it was a good little thing for showing how Wolverine had his mind shattered and why he kept on forgetting crap. I thought it was a good little addition to that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because, I mean, Wolverine always had issues with his mind. That's why he was always hanging out with the Professor.
You mean it wasn't that adamantium bullet that went through his head in the X-Men Origins?
Well, that, too. That didn't help anything.
My favorite part of this movie, though, is kind of the subtleties they had on it. Like, they showed Stryker. They had the combination of with Kennedy. I kind of love the background and that they added the histories and bits.
You kind of threw 2 things in there: Stryker and then Magneto being the one who killed JFK.
Well, no, because
he didn't technically kill JFK.
Well, no, but that's the subtleties of it, because that's part of that explains the history.
Yeah.
The show and the Stryker being the history of the X-Men, even to the stadium he destroyed later on in the movie, which was no longer around, but was around then.
Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty amazing. I really liked it.
Yeah, there's a lot of little things in there. I thought this one had a better cast than most of the movies.
I think they had a better cast than all of them.
Like Peter Dinklage. Oh, man, I do love that guy, little Tyrion. And I have to say he did a really good acting job not acting like Tyrion. You know what I'm saying, Ryan?
Yeah, well, no, it takes a lot for somebody like that. I mean, oh goodness, I mean, especially when you're so attached to how somebody looks, you know, and especially somebody like Peter Dinklage. I mean, he's unbelievably recognizable. And for me to forget that he was Tyrion Lannister from Game of Thrones and put myself in his character in this one was really good.
Another one I want to throw out is Evan Peters. I don't know if you guys know who he is. If you watch American Horror Story, he's one of the actors from there, a fantastic actor, and he played Peter/Quicksilver.
Oh yeah,
and he did an amazing job in that role too. I think it was a perfect fit for Quicksilver.
It was
Quicksilver scene in the kitchen was the Nightcrawler moment of this movie.
Exactly, that's exactly what I was going to say.
Did you get the subtle hint about how? About his mom's knowing Magneto.
Well, anybody who knows the story knows that Magneto is his dad. So,
but if you actually take a look, they're maybe 10 years apart in the story.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing was that, but I don't think it was 10 years. I think it was in his 30s. So
yeah,
20 years, 20 when he had sex with her.
I was going to say the Peter Dinklage though. I read an interview with him, and his comment one of his descriptions for his character was he's not a mutant, but because of his size, that he kind of felt separated. You know, kind of the.
I could see that.
I was actually really impressed like that. That's how he played his character.
That is how he played the character. That's the feel I got it from it. I was going to mention back to what Ryan said is yes, that was the Nightcrawler scene from X-Men 2 with Quicksilver, and it was done so. Impeccably well.
Moment of this movie.
So impeccably well.
I did read the Pentagon scene in the kitchen. That was mostly practical effects.
That's awesome.
With like the rain and some other stuff being CG, and I read that they filmed that scene at close up at a really high rate of speed.
That's awesome.
Which was pretty impressive. I read, I think it was 3,600 frames a second or something ridiculous like that.
Wow. That's awesome. But yeah, I thought it was a really well done scene and just amazing. That stole the movie for me. I was laughing so hard.
Yeah,
so hard.
it was brilliant. The little subtleties of the things you can do when everything's moving really, and your brain's kind of trying to figure out like, okay, now what's this going to do when it speeds up? You know, when he's like crossing the dude's arms and when he touches the guy's cheek.
Yeah.
I played too many video games not to get that instantly.
Oh, yeah,
I was,
agreed.
however, hoping for a comment about his sister.
Yeah.
I was hoping for, like, my sister's kind of a bitch, or something like that. His sister being Scarlet Witch,
Yeah,
for everybody
Scarlet
who
Witch,
doesn't
yeah.
know.
Which I was disappointed she wasn't in this movie. I was kind of hoping.
I do have to do a little nitpicking here because I was researching some of the characters, and normally Bobby Drake, Iceman, he sheathes his whole body, at least originally, and he can turn his whole. He can apparently in the reading later on in the canon, he can shatter, but he can also completely reassemble himself.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I was reading that. So that was one
So
thing.
since
that
they
was,
ripped his head off, he's okay.
Yeah, and it was like,
He'll be all right.
It's a solid piece of ice. I mean, and it should have started dripping right away, shouldn't it?
Possibly, yeah.
What's your nitpick on this then?
Yeah,
it's
that's
because
what
they didn't show him because technically
reassembling himself?
Yeah, because he couldn't die. If you broke him apart, he could have reassembled himself.
Well, he can reassemble himself if he was in sort of that frozen solid state, but not when you're being blasted apart by
fire.
Well, his whole body was frozen at that point, so he should have been able to reassemble it once he was knocked apart.
No, the whole frozen trick's like another thing. Like in the beginning when he sort of like made the frozen part of himself, and that's what the Sentinel crushed.
Yeah,
that was him doing that.
I still think he should be able to, according to everything I read on the Marvel wiki, he should have been able to live through that.
I don't think you should be reading the Marvel wiki and then picking apart the character.
Well, I knew that before. Well, I actually knew that before. I knew that before, but I needed to. It's been a while since I've read any of the X-Men comic books.
This movie was good, but I have to find something wrong with it. I'm just
I got to prove that bastard at the Wing Commander Forum. I got to say.
I have something to say against it. I am sick of Halle Berry playing Aurora Monroe.
Thankfully, they cut.
Storm was not a midget. And I don't like her character. I don't like the way Halle Berry plays it.
Well, for one, Storm was like 6 feet something.
Yeah.
Halle Berry's like 4'8", 5'5", maybe.
Christ.
But no, I really don't like the way she plays the character. She plays it too stiff. Way too stiff. And then she tries to be goofy, and it's like, shut up.
And you know the best part is because she was pregnant when they filmed this, they actually cut her part way back.
Yeah,
I guess she's not in. I guess she had a larger part of the story.
They shanked her pretty fast.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. She didn't have many parts. I mean, she had a couple of moments.
That was pretty much a cameo.
And it was the same thing with Annie Paquin's Rogue. That was the one I was really surprised.
Yeah.
I thought that would be more in the story.
Yeah, I thought that one too. And then also bringing back Jean Grey.
Yeah. Well, I love the explanation of that.
Yeah, that was okay.
And it's totally an X-Men thing. The other people I didn't know is I've never heard of Blink, Sunspot, Warpath, Inc. or Inc. The interesting thing is apparently Inc. doesn't have any mutant powers. It's because it was tattoo artist.
Well, I knew about Warpath.
I didn't know about any of them, which surprised me.
I knew about what's his
Sunspot, Warpath.
Yeah.
I didn't know about those, actually.
Okay. Well, I did know about Warpath. I didn't know about what was the other one you were saying? Sunspot
or Inc.
Blink.
The other thing that was kind of an idiotic moment for me is I didn't realize the M above Bishop's was it left eye actually stood for mutant.
Really?
Yeah, apparently in his time, in his time framers era, that was how they marked mutants, was with the M. I didn't realize that until I started doing research into his character.
Didn't they have something about that in the 90s X-Men?
It's been a long time since I've watched that, though.
I don't remember. It's been a long time since I've seen it, too. Probably 10 years. But anyway, I really enjoyed it. I thought there was a lot of... I thought this was a good... restart, basically. It's a restart to the series since they did First Class, so I liked the way they did it.
And I think this was the perfect handoff, giving homage to the original X-Men theatrical cast, with Patrick Stewart and Ian McGregor?
The
guy who played Magneto. My mind is failing me at the moment. I love
Really, Ian McKellen.
Yes,
McKellen, thank you.
I love the handoff to him because I was reading elsewhere that they didn't expect to play the characters again, and they were they were extremely happy to at least be able to say goodbye.
I like the fact they had Xavier's floating chair.
Yes,
that was pretty cool. I was happy about that.
That made me happy.
That made me happy.
I think with Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart, their characters, I mean, despite being in a comic book movie, are really legitimate, like deep characters. I don't think they would have ever had any problems with. I think it's only natural they'd want to kind of keep doing it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Patrick Stewart, when they said they were going to do X-Men, that was the first thing I said was, if Patrick Stewart does not play Xavier, then they've screwed up.
Well,
he plays Xavier. I didn't really know who they would pick for Magneto. I actually did like their choice, Ian McKellen. So
I like both.
I liked him.
I like both their choices with James McAvoy as young Charles and Michael Fassbender. I actually think they picked 4 people who fit perfectly.
Yeah, and I do like Jennifer Lawrence as Mystique. I think she plays a better one than who played her before that. The model chick.
Yeah.
What's her name? Ryan, who is the first Mystique? Live action.
The first Mystique was Rebecca Romijn.
Yes.
Thank you. I think Jennifer Lawrence plays it better than Rebecca Romijn.
What do you? Because I agree. I actually think she's more of a. She's not as stiff character wise.
Well, Rebecca Romijn played it more like a lizard type of thing. That's kind of like the way she played it, like a chameleon, which kind of is what Mystique was. But Mystique really wasn't always acting like that. She really didn't act like that. She acted more kind of like a human with a brain. And that's the way Jennifer Lawrence plays it.
Mystique was during the first ones in the original trilogy was a little bit on the one-dimensional side. I mean, they dumped into it a little bit of her back and a little bit of her relationships with people, but not nearly as much as they've had time to. Yeah. What's it called? First Class or this one.
Yes. So I think she plays a really good one. Anyway,
I think they had to be a little more three-dimensional in this one because basically a good portion of the First Class and this one is really about Mystique more than any other character.
Yeah, well,
so I think they had to.
Yeah, this one was. But even in the First Class one, it wasn't about Mystique, but she played it really well too. So.
Well, I think it was, but it wasn't. But her character was there, and I guarantee they had an idea what they wanted to do for the second one. And I think she was more three-dimensional in that one than the character was in any of the other ones.
Okay. Anyway, Hugh Jackman, you are Wolverine, so whatever.
Yeah, pretty much. I don't know if I had mentioned this, but I had heard somewhere, and this could just be rumor mill, and it probably is with Hollywood, that Hugh Jackman, being such a fan of playing Wolverine, wants to, obviously he's going to get older. I heard, I'm sorry if I actually brought this up on this thing before, that they might do the old man Wolverine.
You brought that up last week, and I'm excited. I'm actually, I want to buy the comic for that because I want to see the Hulklings.
Yeah. You guys did talk about this last week.
Yeah. Okay, well, screw that then. Getting back to this movie, I like this movie a lot. I thought it was freaking brilliant. It being a time travel story, you'd expect there to be some little wishy-washy moments. I thought it tracked really well. I had no problem following sort of what was being changed and what was kind of going on in the little back and forth they had. The acting in it was I don't know, it had much more room for a lot of really good acting with how dark the story was. And
I think it helps that this one was. I think this helps as this one is actually based on a comic, not something they kind of drew out a hat like all the other ones.
Well, yeah, I mean, the other stuff was picked from canon, but it was sort of.
But this is a self-contained story, though. I mean, this isn't the beginning here, the beginning there. They throw it around. This one's an all-encompassing story.
Right, and they took their time to really tie everything in and give the homage to the old ones and sort of pick what they wanted to. I don't know. It's a classic Marvel ending to me. It's a classic Stan Lee. Kind of everything sort of comes back to normal. You can do all this crazy shit in the past, for whatever, and then everything kind of is as it should be. You know what I mean? At the end.
I do have a question. Was there a Stan Lee cameo? Because I totally didn't see him in this one.
I didn't either. I didn't see him in the credits.
I don't think so.
Okay, and this may sound bad, but I'm gonna tired of seeing Stan Lee in every Marvel movie.
He usually does it in Spider-Man.
I'd be tired of seeing Stan Lee in every movie.
He's usually only does it in Spider-Man and the Fantastic Four. I haven't seen.
He's in the
every
Avengers.
movie. And the Avengers, yeah.
He's in those, yeah.
And Iron Man's.
And the Iron Mans. All of them?
Yeah.
Okay.
I am
must
curious,
have missed him in one of them. I'm trying to think which one.
Curious what you guys thought about the way they did with Xavier walking.
I thought that was a really good thing because they actually have that in the lore of when, like he said, when this grows, these go away type thing. When he said that, that's actually what happened when they did the what was that island they went to?
The Savage Land?
Yeah, the Savage Lands, because that's the same thing that happened there.
Because I was reading up on this, and there's been a couple other times that he was able to walk in the canon, and I was trying to find the one about the Savage Land, but I didn't have time.
Okay, yeah, but I remember in the Savage Lands he didn't really have his abilities.
Yeah, I think it was because of Mr. Sinister, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, but anyways, yeah, he was suppressing powers. Like even Magneto didn't have his powers.
Yeah.
So anyway.
I was also liked how they pulled off Beast. I liked. I was actually pretty impressed about that.
Yeah, I liked the Hank McCoy way they did that.
And it wasn't as annoying as they played it off in the third X-Men movie. How that boy was able to make everybody's powers disappear.
Yeah, the cure. That was weird.
Yeah.
I gotta say though, this is probably my all-time favorite X-Men movie ever.
I think I'm gonna have to join you with that sentiment, dude. Really, you know what?
Okay.
Despite whatever's from canon or what's not from canon, just trying to be, your average moviegoer and you know what I mean? Like, cause my what's it called? Wow, I can find words right now. My experience with X-Men in the past has been through the cartoons and a handful of books. I never followed any particular runs, you know what I mean? But so just looking at it from a movie, I thought it was brilliant. Knowing that it's from a canon and sort of, very closely follows it, I think should only serve to give credit to the original authors of all these stories.
Yeah.
How well they're able to hold up. And there's no reason to change all these things and adapt them if the original stories were good.
And normally I'm not a big fan of them changing the story, but I was not only impressed that they chose Wolverine, but the reason why and how they explained it, and it didn't feel like it was a last-minute add-on, like some of these changes that they do in stories. I was really impressed how smooth that was. And even the reason.
See, I don't know. I don't know if I got to say. I like the First Class and this one. I like the reboot that they're doing. I can't say that I like this one over First Class more or the other. I
love this one over First Class personally.
I don't know.
Mainly because this they don't have to set up any origin stories. So this one they didn't have to rely on the crutch of introducing characters. They just kind of threw you in it, and it was done well. Because normally, sometimes that doesn't go well when they just throw you into a story.
Okay, well,
in my opinion, of course.
I don't know. I obviously I just give this one a 4. I think I gave the First Class a 4 too. So I don't think it didn't quite blow me out of the water. But it was close. I gotta say, I love the Quicksilver scene. I thought that was really well done. Amazing graphics and camera tricks. Just really well done. Like I said, I think I like that one better than I like seeing Nightcrawler going buck like that. That was cool.
Yeah, if you almost just comparing them side by side, I mean,
Quicksilver.
Just what 6-7 years difference, between them. Yeah, man, they really dialed it up a notch on this one.
Yeah, for me, it was because you got to see kind of the smart-ass Quicksilver, like him having the guy punch himself, and when it goes back to normal, he flies against the wall. I love that, like the Zenith television and all those sweet stuff in his room. I loved just that part of that character.
Yeah,
and even even talk about his mutant, so you can't prove anybody. Nobody's going to believe you. I loved that, everything about that character. I have to give it a 5 out of 5. I really like this. I actually think this is the best X-Men movie, live-action X-Men made. I thought it blew the original trilogy out of the water.
Yeah, I agree with that. But
especially the third one, than the first one. Second one,
I have no general problems with the trilogy as a whole. I would have preferred them to not jump right to the biggest event, in X-Men, that quickly.
The Phoenix.
They skipped over a lot of stuff, but I mean, nowadays we're getting to see stuff like Sentinels, and they're teasing us with Apocalypse and shit like that. So, it was really worth the wait. Man, I'm with John on this one, dude. This really did blow me out of the water. I thought it was one of the best comic book movies that we've seen.
I would give you that.
I do think
Although
we have to talk about one thing, and before we move on, is the Sentinels. I was really impressed in the way they did the Sentinels. I love the Magneto scene when he strips the metal.
Yeah.
I have to give it to him. That the whole anything to do with the Sentinels, I was impressed with. I was really afraid they were going to make it look like the cartoon.
Yeah,
like
it
showed.
I was
all the
worried about
stuff that was conceptualized for this movie, there was nothing flawed with it at all. Everything looked great.
I was even afraid they were going to bring Nimrod, the future version of the Sentinels. So I'm happy.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say I'm happy with that too. So the Sentinels were really well done. Like you said, I was glad that they didn't quite push it to kind of like cartoony-ish style, but they did a good job with it too.
I do want to say I want a
It had
plastic
those
six
moments
shooter.
in it that made you want to see the next set of 3 movies. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
yeah.
In the first one, to me, it was I think Wolverine, going all berserker mode on everybody. I'm like, oh shit, I'm in for whatever they make now.
Yeah.
And this one just really reaffirmed my faith in the trilogy for this, or in the series.
I want to ask, what was your really favorite funny scene? Because the other one had involved Wolverine walking through the metal detector like he was going to be pissed.
I didn't even said like, oh, well, Lisa doesn't have to worry about the metal detector anymore.
That's what I was thinking.
There it was. The scene
I didn't think about that until that happened, and I was laughing, and my girlfriend was looking at me. What's so funny? It's like, he didn't set it off. And it's like, oh, sorry, it's funny as hell to me.
And I think mine was the one where he threatened Magneto with his claws, and he mentions, "Good thing they're not made out of metal." So that to me was,
it's like, well, imagine if they were metal.
yeah, imagine if they were metal. But yeah, that one to me was where I laughed. And then the metal detector scene, I thought, okay, yeah, you're proving the point. Yeah, they're not metal. Before we move on, I do want to say something. I got to say something to Hugh Jackman. So
This should be interesting.
So all I gotta say is, really, Hugh Jackman, you are Wolverine. I've said it before. I'll say it again.
A 6-foot Wolverine.
Now,
You're not allowed to do anything else.
well, no, I disagree with that. I mean, I really enjoyed The Prestige.
He is a
I
man
liked
crush.
Les Miserables. Real Steel, I thought was a really good reboot of that story. Australia was just really.
Wait, I don't think Real Steel
Anyway.
was an actual story before.
It was kind of a knockoff of an old Sylvester Stallone. Anyways,
Okay.
but what I was going to say is, you are Wolverine, and a Wolverine movie does not get made without you now. So
Except he's going to retire at some point.
you have to treat these producers, scriptwriters, like they're babies. And what is the first word a baby gets to hear is no. So really, if they come up with something along the lines of Wolverine Origins, or what was the other one?
On the positive side, even he was disappointed at the way that movie came out.
Even the X-Men Last Stand, things like that. You gotta look at them, and after you read the script, and say, no.
I don't think
You have the control.
I don't think he does.
So if somebody out there who knows Hugh Jackman,
I was
who
right.
actually saw this,
He's
and maybe
flirting with
somebody like
Hugh
that,
Jackman remotely.
tell him to tell these idiots no. Have the control, have the balls to say no.
I actually don't. I don't think he has that much control. I think he has a little bit of stroke because everybody likes
So-
Hugh Jackman, but I don't think he can really.
But if somebody comes up to him and gives him the script and says, "Hey, read this thing," and he reads it, and then he looks at it and goes, "Really?" And he has to do it? I don't think so.
They'll cast somebody else.
He's an actor.
That's
They'll
right.
go
I get-
cast somebody
I
else.
get what
Nobody's
you're
going to go
trying to say.
see the piece of crap without Hugh Jackman.
I would never underestimate the power of fanboys. They'll see it because it's an X-Men movie. Like I would. I'd be pissed.
Yeah, exactly. Anyways, so that's all I got to say is that Hugh Jackman, learn the word no.
Look, I agree with you in as much as, yeah, I mean, you got a little bit of pull. I mean, let's do our best to make sure it's not a piece of shit. But there's so many different facets of everything. I mean, he can control maybe one or two more than just himself and give his creative opinion. But at the end of the day, what starts out as the greatest script in the world could theoretically get whittled down to something, you know what I mean, in editing, post-production.
I get that.
Turns out to be something that they didn't intend. There's many things that go into it. It's
Origins was going to be a badass movie, and it just turned out to be crap.
But I think the direction they've gone in lately with First Class and this one, I don't think we have anything to fear from these movies being anything but just a damn good time.
I honestly think that the worst thing the X-Men movie franchise has, you have fans like us who will be nitpicky about the way they do things, because there are a few other things that I could honestly nitpick, but I enjoyed the movie too much to be a complete jerk about it. Yeah. Besides the annoyance of Bobby Drake, who was one of my favorite characters.
And look, the reason we nitpick is because we love this shit so much.
Yeah. I mean, my nitpicking about Bobby Drake or Iceman, I actually like the character, so it was always one like, but you're not really, but
yeah, I like those characters too. I mean, but whatever.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to remind you that we do have a Facebook page. Tell us how much we suck or how much I suck for picking Wing Commander. I dare you.
Yeah,
again.
Tell me how awesome X-Men Origins was, Wolverine Origins.
Matter of fact, I dare you. So just, is there a theme you want us to do or a movie you particularly want to see us to review? Let us know. Matter of fact, in honor of the old guy not being here, hit the donate button on the Old Guy Tech TV website. Come on, buy us some movie passes, please. And next is movie news. So who has movie news?
You.
I don't have movie news.
You don't have movie news? Oh my gosh.
Well, actually, there is something we talked about earlier. Is the next one is supposed to be X-Men Apocalypse. If you actually stayed through the trailers, which I didn't, they kind of showed it a little bit. It's supposed to take place in the 80s, and I'm not a giant fan of the Apocalypse storyline, but I hope they have Cable, because he's always involved in that story.
I'm a huge fan of anything that has to do with, the new gods, the gods of the Marvel universe or the DC universe. All I want to see is something with Darkseid or Apocalypse, or you know what I mean. I think that's the logical sort of next step. I mean, they keep ramping this shit up.
I want to see Darkseid and X-Men.
What's that?
I want to see Darkseid and X-Men.
Well, that wouldn't happen, but...
Well, I know. I still would love to see it.
I know, but I just like to see Darkseid in general. I mean, we're still kind of living out a lot of fantasies when it comes to these things. Oh, I'd love to see this live action. Oh, I'd love to see this live action. You know what I mean? From we were kids, our brains are still kind of going on like, oh, I've only ever seen this in cartoon form or in comic books. It'd be awesome to see these things, and I think we're still going through the list.
Yeah.
Oh, totally.
Well, there are some things I mean, I really want to see a good Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I haven't seen that new one that's coming out. I still really, 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 really want to see Sorcerer Supreme, Doctor Strange. I want to see that.
I think is the Gen 3 of the Gen.
Yeah, that's supposed to be coming
Wave
out.
3 of the Marvel.
So
Disney.
they've hit pretty much quite a bit of what I want to see. I don't want to see Rambo Last Stand, though.
Oh, Rambo 5. He's going against a Mexican cartel.
Again.
Wait.
Again.
I'm really confused on something. Why the fuck do you not want to see that movie?
Because
how do you not like Rambo?
The last Rambo, what did I say when they said that they were coming out? I said he's going to have to have a sword.
He did have a sword.
He did have a sword, which I give it credit to Sylvester Stallone because he actually made it by hand. He made it.
So obviously he's going to have a claymore this time.
Yeah, or a katana or something.
It's going to have to be like the one. It'll have to be like Guts' sword. The dude is so jacked from all the juice he's on.
The Berserk sword, yeah.
Like the Highlander sword out there or something. And
I'm just like, where are we going? Sylvester Stallone's coming out of retirement for it.
Next thing you know,
supposedly retirement. Expendables 4.
And next thing you know, Rocky 25.
I know.
It'll be Rocky Balboa versus the Grim Reaper.
Oh, I'd love to see his son start amateur boxing, and he goes and he's his coach. Rocky turns into Mickey.
He dies halfway through the movie.
I thought it was funny, like
the character, not the
that was
person.
The total like old Simpsons joke from the '90s. It was like Bart, like Rocky 2 plus Rocky 5 equals Rocky 7, Adrian's Revenge.
Right?
That's what we've all wanted to see since the mid-90s.
Yeah, since they made that joke.
So I know James had kind of an announcement how we're going to change things up a little bit on Real Flix reviews and...
Okay, yeah, toss me on the fire. Anyway, we've been discussing since the make of this show that we wanted to include series and actually television series, and that's what we're going to be doing. So every week we're going to be watching 1 or 2 episodes. I think we're only going to be doing one with the one that we've chosen.
Next week we'll announce which one.
Yeah, and so that's what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing 1 or 2 shows. At the end of each episode, we will announce which episode we're watching and what show. Mm-hmm. And by the time we're actually done, should be around, 8 to 12 weeks?
Something like that, depending on the show.
Because we'll be doing doubling up if the show that we've chosen has quite a bit of episodes per season. And we'll do end of season reviews.
Mm-hmm. And we'll just kind of give our favorite opinions, the things that really stood out.
The favorite episode, favorite clip of
the character you really wish somebody would slit their throat, that stuff like that.
Yeah,
fun stuff.
The fun things.
So prepared for that. We kind of wanted to give you just something to look forward to on Real Flix Reviews, all 3 of you. And next week we're doing movies that should be 5 out of 5. Is that what we decided it was called?
Movies that the host believes deserves a 5, just so the audience can finally get an idea of what we think is a movie that deserves a 5, because we don't really give many 5s. We've given 10 per person.
Yeah, well, we pick a lot of sort of fun movies, or hey, haven't seen this in a while, or check this out. This came.
Or I know you guys haven't seen this, but you should be tortured.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, there's a lot of that.
There's
John, Ryan.
I think. Don't worry. You'll pick a movie, and then we'll just harass the hell out of you for it.
Basically.
I think we've given as a group, as a show, we've given a couple of movies a 5 out of 5, but they're extremely rare. And I have a conundrum because there's 2 movies that I really wanted to pick, so I wanted to see what you guys thought.
Okay.
One was The Last Samurai, and the other one is one of my all-time favorite movies, Eastern Promises. And I'm leaning towards Eastern Promises because it's by
Promises?
Eastern Promises.
Okay.
It's with it's by David Cronenberg, and it's it's the guy who played Aragorn, Viggo Mortensen.
I'm leaning towards Eastern Promises. One, I haven't seen it in a while. It's a brilliant movie, and I watch Last Samurai once every 4 months.
Really?
Holy
once
shit!
Every 4 months?
Somebody has a crush on the little guy.
Yeah, on the midget.
He's so hot. So, ladies and gentlemen, looks like I'm picking.
Pissed. I'm pissed.
Apparently, I've had too much caffeine. I'm picking Eastern Promises. It's an amazing movie, and it's one I really do think should be a 5 out of 5. Tell us if we're wrong next week, because this is going to be the month where you can tell us how full of shit we are, and you'll get mocked on air for it.
Yep, you will. Bring it on. I look forward to it.
So,
ever the shit disturber.
Right? Ladies and gentlemen, I gave the movie X-Men Days of Future Past a 5. James gave it a 4. Ryan gave it a 5, and if I can ever get the old guy to watch it, we'll tell you what he thinks.
He'll probably be with me on it.
Probably. Or
he's old and crotchety.
Give it a 2 then. And next...
I apologize for my absence last week, but in case anybody's wondering, I would have given Kelly's Heroes a 4 for damn sure.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah, that's where I was.
We didn't have to travel to LA and beat you over the head. So, ladies and gentlemen, next week is Eastern Promises with Viggo Mortensen. And as always, we'll see you next week.
Goodbye.
Thank you.